Elena, I just wanted to kick off our conversation with something which I believe is very, very important. Why should really people care about the food ecosystem? And what is really the statistics and the challenges of the current food ecosystem? And when you really talk about good, clean, and fair food, what does this mean to the human race at large?
Thank you for the interesting question, Swami. I think from a global perspective to a local perspective, the people need to start thinking about where the food comes from. We need to be looking at it both from an agricultural perspective in regards to how farmers produce their food, to also how and where consumers actually buy their food. From a farming perspective, for example, since the Green Revolution, there has been changes in workforce from rural areas moving to cities. It means that the number of farmers are changing their jobs, and they're changing their jobs to be self-producing or small-scale farmers, to be dependent upon small-scale farmers for their food. If we're looking at a global perspective, if you look at Asia and Africa, and also Europe, there have been a loss of farmers in Asia, a loss in the last 15, 20 years. About 45% of farmers have moved from farming to other jobs, other economic jobs. If you're looking at from a European perspective, the decrease has been about 49%, moving from rural jobs to jobs that are not farmers, while Africa has increased from 164 to 229 million people from 2020 to 2021. So as we see on a global perspective for the global south, there's been, and also Europe, there's been a shift from people moving away from farming to other jobs, which means that less people are actually producing food. If we're looking at food production, we're looking at food production in Asia and in Africa that are small-scale farmers and subsistence. If you're looking at the United States or Australia or Canada or in Europe also, the farming production is not so small-scale. It's moved towards the industrial food system. Okay, and the difference between the small-scale farm system subsistence and the industrial food system is the small scale is they produce enough for their family consumption. That's the principle of what they do, based on what they've always done. They produce enough, and what they have excess, they provide and they sell or barter in their local communities. The industrial food system is about high yield production. It's about exportation. It's about production that has high inputs and high outputs, but also at a high cost. Whereas the subsistence is a biodiverse model. It means that producers or farmers produce what they eat, and then it's a small-scale production model. So where we have around the world not only employment but also the production, we have from the Green Revolution, there needs to be a paradigm shift from the Green Revolution or industrial food globalized system to a more ecological intensified system based on family farming and also family farming and subsistence farming. So we need to move the subsistence farming and the small scale farming into a higher notch, but it's not get big or get out. It's stay small, but also assist and work with the farmers to be able to help them not only produce enough consistently for their family consumption, but also enough excess to be able to sell to provide income, because more than 45% of our population produces food from small-scale farming. So we need to shift this, and if we look at it from a global perspective, it's very much in the United States, in Australia, in Europe, in regards to where that paradigm shift needs to take place, but also the small-scale farmers in the global south to ensure that they can sustain and maintain what they're actually doing. So this is where slow food, good, clean and fair fits in. It's good for you. It's clean for the environment, The fair is when we start to need to work with the consumers and raise awareness with consumers about where they get their food from. Okay, at this moment in time, the new generation, the next generation, the young, they don't know where food comes from unless they actually live on farms. So we've seen there's a shift from farming to cities. Those that live in cities are dependent upon what's available in the cities or large towns. And most of it is normally from a supermarket or from a shop. And the transformation of more people getting a higher wage means that they buy food that is convenient. Okay. What Slow Food works with FAIR is bringing the consumer closer to the producer to ensure that the producer's paid a fair price and the consumer pays a fair price, but also there is cultural context and also social context in regards to that relationship the consumer builds with the producer.